What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Actually, where did it go? Once in a while, I like to show my award, and I can't find it. One of my awards, I can't find it. What a disaster. We'll find. All right.
And also, on the desk? You moved it from the desk?
Yeah, I've been doing some rearranging of this studio.
Yes.
You'd think that something that weighs about 5 pounds, you wouldn't put it anywhere far away, but I can't find it. I'm in drama. I'm in stress. No, I'm just joking. Also, I co-host and co-produce the only, I'm still looking for it. You think hopefully I'll find it. Yeah, I produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers, sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And our team has reached out directly and indirectly to over 300,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And I'm also a featured contributor on a platform called Indie Soup Media, which is powered by our friend Dr. Tachi, which has about coming up to 30 independent content creators. I am one of them, and I also sit on the advisory board. And in about 4 months' time, they have almost 13,000, I think over 13,000 YouTube subscribers. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. What's going on? Ryan Knight is here today.
Good to see you. For those that get who Ryan Knight is, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We support entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage of business they're in and then help them create a strategy to grow. I am an entrepreneur myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile, waterless car cleaning. So we go to people's houses or their offices, clean their cars on the spot without using water, and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And I'm proud of the new, batch of young entrepreneur recruits that have gone through our training. We have another training day happening this Sunday, the 23rd. So if you're in Scarborough, we will be on this east side, pretty much training on people's dirty cars. So if
when's that happening?
So Sunday the 23rd at 2:00.
Okay.
And we're looking to do it at the C Center, so 75 Thermos Road. I think it's right by Eglinton and Kennedy-ish. I think west of Kennedy. So if you're on this side, look out for that link. It should have been in my socials. And come and get your car clean. No excuses.
For how much?
$65. So instead of $129, it's only $65 for the training days.
Program alert. Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
This Friday, Black Belt Conversations. Watch out. Here we go. There we go. This Friday.
Nice.
Ray McMillan, Wayne Harris, gonna be dropping knowledge bombs about retirement.
Right.
Let me tell you, family. I said it last Friday on the show. I finally got them to get together. It was virtually. I just sat back and listened to knowledge bombs back and forth.
Yes.
Right? So they're going to be straight shooting about retirement. People should know about Ray McMillan. If not, there's lots of replays of him on the platform on the Morning Vibe. Has had his own mortgage business since 1999.
Yes.
Right? And has experience in doing mortgages in Canada, United States, and the Caribbean. Wayne Harris, longtime career doing high-level IT sales to like Fortune 100 companies, now doing financial education, financial services to all people who look like us. So they're going to be together on Friday, and it's not going to be a regular occurrence. It's probably once every 3 months. So book it in your calendar.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paige. I am a marketing consultant and the host of More Than a Mom, the podcast. I am here at the Soundwave Summit, and I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Vibe, and the gems he dropped we're unmatched. An accidental conversation really changed my whole plan. And if I had him 3 years ago when I started my consulting career, it would have made a major change. The biggest thing that I learned that I'm taking with me is understanding that I do not have a show, I have a solution. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough. Another thing that really adjusted my mindset was the power of positive language. I was telling him about some of my problems are asking for help. I'm always pouring into other people, but it's hard and it's a problem that I can't get that same thing in return. And he said, it's not a problem. It's something that, what did you say? Not a problem. You said, oh, it's a challenge. It's something that's a challenge for me. And that simple adjustment of language, I went away to lunch and I called 4 people and I'm like, hey friends, we need to change our energy. We need to change our outlook. We are solution-driven people. We do not need to do things the way society tells us to do things. This checklist that we feel like we need to fall under, this 10-minute conversation we had, it changed up everything. So I'm so thankful for the gems. I feel like I'm gonna go back and make a whole new to-do list that's based on how I need to do things, a different way of looking at things, and I'm just so thankful. So thank you, Dr. Barb.
Shout it to us. What do you think about this subject?
This is such a great subject because I am like an example of this, of running Black Canadian creators for the past 4 or 5 years and having, in a way, a silo approach to marketing. And I was marketing it obviously for, the whole goal of this platform and the podcasts was for elevating Black creators. But I wanted it to be beyond just Black people to find out about these Black creators. The goal really is to be for them to be seen so that way everyone of whatever culture can see them. And this didn't happen until the past 6 months, where that has catapulted for me. But it took for me to be an example and to start like exemplifying that same message for the world to discover. So, and it's so funny because even at the Soundwave Summit, I talked about community, but also putting it yourself out there. And writing a newsletter was huge game changer for me. Game changer.
Gotcha.
It's what it got me by being exemplifying not only who are the content. Well, in this newsletter, really, I was just focusing on marketing or showcasing Black podcasts in Canada. But by seeing how I write it and putting it together and things like that, it creates trust, right? So that people outside of the Black community, who really are actual allies and wants to be like, okay, not only I could see that she does this, but I know that she has a show. I know she knows how to do this. She's been doing podcasting since 2008. So I'm not just like talking out of thin air. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So being an example through this newsletter in literally 6 months created for, Palm people to really be like, oh man, how can I help you? Like, how can we get you involved? Like, you know what I mean? And that's how the Soundwave Summit came about. Really, it just introduced me to other people who are not part of the community, but true allies who really are advocating, or who I had to do some teaching to them too. Like, look, if you want to be inclusive, here's what you need to do. Right. And being forthright and honest with them on what inclusivity looks like, right? But my whole point is it takes both. Like, I realized, like, you can try to put content out there till you're blue in the face, but no one's going to know you exist until you send that email, you send a text, you DM people. It's both ways for us to just create content. Like, and this is what I say to clients with podcasting. If you think you're creating a podcast and you post it out there, if you build it, they will come. That's a lie. It's Agreed. A lie. They won't come. They don't know what to come to. Who are you? Unless you're a celebrity, then sure. But if you don't have that celebrity status, you got to put yourself out there. You got to reach out and DM. It takes both ways, basically. That's my whole point in all this.
And that's where there's warm, like, contacts and cold contacts. people that are warm know about you, and whatever you do organically, they're gonna find it. When people don't know about you, you have to get in front of their face. You can't expect people that don't know about you or what you can do to just find you and treat you with the value that you expect.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, Dr. Tachi, are you there?
Yeah, Dr. Tachi.
Just got to unmute
Oh,
yourself.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, before we go any further, Chedsey says, Dr. Vibe, if your mandate is to affect change and uplift the community, that's my responsibility to reach out and get information to the community. Each one, teach one. 100% agree. I'm going to tell you something, though. I get more response from people who don't look like me than do look like me.
And nobody said it's going to be easy.
I didn't say it was easy.
But you're saying you get more response. I agree. Nobody is saying that's not true.
And I'll even take it further. I get more response from people who don't live in this country than do live in this country who look like me.
Valid. But I'm saying they are probably more well-versed in how the benefits of what you do. So if people, for example, in Canada, don't understand the benefits of certain media platforms, they're not going to put it as high priority. If people in the US know how powerful that media can be, they will have it as high priority. So when they see it happening, they will engage.
I will say, and I'm going to go now to Dr. Tachi. I go where I'm fed. Dr. Tachi, go ahead.
Good morning, all. I'm sorry that my camera is off.
It's okay.
All good.
Let me tell you how I'm tired of Negroes, okay? I have had it with Negroes.
This is why I brought Dr. Tachi in. Thank you. Go.
Why is your Black business more important than mine as a Black media person? So the same energy that you want for other Black people to give to you all, and I mean the proverbial you, as a Black business, come to my restaurant, come do this, and you want that same energy, but you don't want to put that same energy into Black media? Are we not Black businesses too? Or are you telling me that your Black business is more important than my Black business? And I'm here to tell you it is not. It is not. So yes, it is. I think it is a give and take. I do agree that I know people know the Toronto Sun, people know the Washington Post, people know these outlets because they first of all, they have a money machine behind them. They've been around a lot longer. And it's not just with Black media, it's media and smaller media outlets in general have a tougher time getting out there. So, let's just make it that. But then when you go down to, even further to the micro level and you look at Black media, yes, now there's a bigger problem because, and I won't even put it out there in terms of it being compared to mainstream, it's the ice is colder thing. So you're still thinking that the Toronto Sun's ice is colder than the Dr. Vibe show. Or what, it's that mindset as well. And I submit to you, I'm not going to, let me say how they say in Florida in the South. I'm not finna waste my time making you all believe that somehow I'm as worthy as the other ones. I go, like Dr. Vibe said, I go where I'm fed. And I'm being fed by all sorts of people now. I wanted to give you a personal example. Sure. I think I've said this before, where I was the director for a talk show that we were pitching in Atlanta. Now, of course, Atlanta is the Hollywood of the South. They brought me on to be the director. We shot 2 pilots. And 2 episodes, the pilot episode and the second episode, and it went really well. But what people have to understand is that there are other media outlets besides TV One, BET, Netflix, all of the majors. In fact, most people, if you're going to see their content, it's not going to be on those things, especially with the way media is going. So I was the youngest one, and this is not to put something about age, but they grew up in the age of television was the end all and be all, and that's all we're going to do. And I'm going to make sure I get on with OWN, or I'm going to talk to something, or we have a meeting. So I kept trying to tell them, listen, there is enough content here that if we start really getting active on social media and launch a YouTube channel, believe me, we could get this going. And then if you really have the desire to go to a larger quote platform or more mainstream platform, we could do that because we will have a following. Okay. But then they'll go ahead and take a meeting with somebody else who's just listening to them, just like, yeah, okay. Hollywood works with who Hollywood knows. If they don't know you, they're not going to work with you. And I kept trying to get this through their heads, but because they were of the generation where all they knew was television, they did not believe that this new media way could be a way to get eyes and community. And it's not just about eyes and people want community now. That's the thing. People want community. I want to be able to, if you have a podcast or something, I can talk to you in real time because Netflix, I can't talk back to the creators on Netflix. This is what people want. And so now you knowing this, and that's another thing. These organizations don't do the research on what's working. So you just see, again, CBC, oh, let me put my stuff there. But how many times are you getting actual residuals or anything back from having your stuff on CBC? Do you know any of the people who are watching your things? Do they even care? No. But if you pay enough money, you can have your stuff there. So sorry to get all platformy, but I do agree. We have to put ourselves out there. It's not just a building and we will come, but also if we're talking about being Black now, that we have to use extra energy to do other things, to do all sorts of things. And we know that the same energy I put into telling you about this better be the same energy that you are using to put your stuff on Black media. I rest.
Can I add to this too? This is the reason why when I do these talks and I get invited about like talking about podcasting, and I really am trying to shift any type of content creator to look at your shift your audience from audience to community and build a community around it, because brands are getting smarter. Okay. They have seen that investing in someone who has 1 million followers, but doesn't really have some sense of communal or influence to their followers. And it just becomes like, you're literally just throwing a fish net in the ocean and you hope that something sticks. And that's what's been happening. And that's what they've been seeing when they have, like, let's say working with an influencer who has 1 million followers. And I use this example, right? If would you want to go with an influencer who has 1 million followers and has no idea, not built any form of true sense of community? But if I show up and tell you I have 10 followers and they're like, well, what's that going to do? Yeah, but if I tell you I have influence that these 10 followers are Oprah, I don't know, like just give, big Beyonce, Jay-Z, Dr. Tachi, like, do you know what I mean? Like people,
you can talk to them,
right? Like if I see you. Right. If I give you these 10s and, Barack Obama, and anytime I post something, they're going to be sharing it. Doesn't that make me much more influential than someone who has like 1 million followers and have no idea and have not built any form of community? That's number one. Number two, with what and I'm just hopping off of Dr. Tachi and I'm inspired by this, but that's what I've been doing for the past 6 months too, is being unapologetically Black when I am dealing with people who are POM people. You know what I mean? If you're really thinking of creating something with me or want to include my community, because that's what's happening right now. People who are not Black are coming to me and they see, like, you have a community, you've built trust, I have a Rolodex of 500 Black Canadian creators. So I can bring him to your event. I can create an event and help them build the platform, right? But you have to understand that I'm gonna come in Black, I'm gonna be unapologetic about it, and check your fragility at the door. And I make them run through the test. Like even the people that I co-organized, in the end, we had a few little situations where, you have some people who fall through the cracks and, they present themselves like they're really into the whole diversity thing, but they're not. And I had to tell them that comes with the territory when you are creating work or a space that's supposed to represent some form of inclusivity. And I told them I wouldn't have done the work with them or co-organize this if they didn't pass my fragility test, period, point blank. You know what I mean? If you don't allow me to be unapologetically Black, and I'm bringing these Black people who is going to also be unapologetical about who their experience as content creators, then we're not going to work together, and so that's why, putting yourself out there, your best foot forward. I just had that realization like literally 2 weeks ago with shifting my LinkedIn. I was like, why I'm putting all my time of networking on LinkedIn? Why don't I just share my knowledge? And people who are going to see that, oh, she's really aware about podcasting. I'm just putting my knowledge out there. And that's what's going to attract people. And that's what the newsletter does too. It's like you have to be open and share your knowledge and your expertise. And that's how people who are non-Black will come to you. Anyway, I'm just inspired by everything Dr. Tachi said. That was so good. The community is so important.
Teach more and sell less. Teach more and sell less.
Period.
This is where Dr. Tachi touched on something. And that's why I'm going to push back a bit, Dr. Tachi, because
good.
You mentioned the example of like a Black-owned restaurant. They're saying to come support Black, that whole mantra. The reason, and we have to understand who we're dealing with. Typically, and we can think of those that we've engaged with, how strong is their marketing team? Do they even have a marketing person, a dedicated marketing person? Typically, it's them. And they're not versed in how important marketing is and how to do it properly. So when they only know how to say, oh, come support me, but they don't actually know how to market themselves properly. So you having a media platform or Dr. Vibe having a media platform, they actually don't have the expertise to know how to effectively use it. So now we exist, but they need to be educated in how important it is to actually use that platform. A lot of times they only see like, oh, well, CBC or the Washington Post has X amount of followers and this smaller media outlet only has Y amount of followers. But that isn't exactly what Shirley was saying. That doesn't show true impact. Like if we have 100 people that will engage with a person that we bring on the show versus putting an article in the Toronto Sun that, sure, I don't know what their readership is now, but it's like if 1 million people read it, but 1 million of those people do not care about your message, that's wasted money. But we're dealing with people that still think that that's more impactful than actual local community-based media. And unfortunately, they might never understand. So and that's where with ACBN, we try to encourage entrepreneurs to actually build teams. You need somebody dedicated on marketing. You need somebody dedicated on your financials. You need somebody dedicated on operations. And you, the genius that can do the work or cook the food, focus on that. But a lot of times it's that one person doing all 4 things and Ryan, they don't have the ability to do it proper.
Not to interrupt, I do understand that, but you're assuming that that is not the case with media outlets. I am a single person media outlet. I do everything. I too don't have time to reach out to you, Chicken George, and make sure that you come. And I don't have that time either. But if I think something is important enough, I make the time. So I'm not giving anybody a pass anymore. That's why we're in the predicament we are, because we continuously apologize for why we are not knowledgeable. Not when there's Google and on God's internet, not when there is AI. I refuse to believe that. True. So the whole thing, and a lot of these people are educated enough to get through processes of securing government grants, securing, and you can't do this. I refuse. I refuse.
Look at where their priority is. Their priority is typically on, yes, going out, getting grants, and then that's their expertise. But actual community work and engaging with Black-owned media outlets, they don't see the priority in that. They don't see the benefit. So they don't put any priority on it. Yeah, they only focus on over here trying to go get money instead of actually doing the community work.
I agree, but then there's something wrong with your business model if you don't look at it holistically and you only think the getting the money part is important. I don't have to cook the food. I don't have to advertise this. I just need to get money. That's a flaw on the business owner's end. If you don't look at this holistically, you've got to look at it holistically. And I do understand, and I get sometimes our people that are in business, we may be the first generation of people who ever got into business, so we don't understand all the fine points. But not understanding is one thing. Continuingly being that's not even a word. But whatever.
You make up new words all the
I'm
time.
making up a new one. Yeah.
It works for the sentence.
Continuously being ignorant of the things is not anybody else's problem but your own. So I do agree. I think there can be an end of it where Black-owned, first of all, I think more Black-owned media need to collaborate. We operate in silos way too much, and it doesn't make any sense. When we're all there for the same goal, why not collaborate on doing things? And I'm not saying not at all, but I think too many people are stuck on, I'm a Black media outlet. I'm the first Black media. Who cares who's doing it as long as people are doing it? So I think that's one thing. I think there can be an education end to what you're saying, Ryan, in terms of educating people on the fact that these Black-owned businesses are out, or sorry, these Black-owned media outlets and businesses are out there. I think that's good, but we cannot absolve the individual of responsibility to, good and darn well that you need publicity. I don't want to hear it. If you sit there and just cook rice and peas and never say anything, nobody knows you have rice and peas. The thing is, you think putting rice and peas, that you have it for sale, is more important in the Toronto Sun than it is advertising someplace else.
Yeah, they want to get on breakfast television. Like
but they all don't get on breakfast television, do they?
Exactly.
Right, and
the chances are slimmer.
Right. And then when you tell them, like, yeah, but how much breakfast television is going to give you? 4 minutes, 7 minutes if you're lucky. If you come on my podcast, you could have 15, 30, maybe an hour.
1 hour here.
You know what I mean? Like, you could say you could say a lot about your business in 15, 30 minutes, 45, to 60 minutes. You could say a whole lot then compared to traditional media that's just going to give you, if you're lucky, 7 minutes.
And the people, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the people who are going to watch breakfast television probably are not the ones that are going to come out to Scarborough or Scarborough and patronize your business, okay? They're trying to be in downtown Toronto. They're trying to be in those. So we also have to look at the impact. If I'm here, it's nice. Listen, they're nice to say, as seen in such and such, as seen on such and such. But was that really a good use of your money if nobody that watches such and such is actually going to come? Now it's just a feather in your cap to say I was on such and such. Let's use some realization here. I look at Dr. Vibe and the fact with the juice, what's it, the juice bar, Carolyn's the
Energy Shack juice
bar.
The
Energy Shack. Look at how many people have gotten turned on because of Dr. Vibe. Okay. Right. That may not have happened. I'm not saying it won't, but that may not have happened with a more mainstream outlet, because not only does he give an hour, it's a continuous type of thing. You would never get a continuous relationship. Even if you said, hey, I want to have a regular spot, they'd be like, that's nice. Next.
Yes. But
all right, Ryan, you got to go. You got 30 seconds.
I told them I'll be 10 minutes. So.
Okay. Before you go any further, a few quick. Well, let's just get comments. So the McMillan Group, Shirley J is on the spot with her perspective. The overdependence of social media to grow business has stifled the ability for many businesses to scale. You have to build spheres of influence. Fitness IQ says, hello, Shirley and Dr. Tachi. Shirley J, yes, community. Let's go on further. Hayton says, it may not be enough to go only where you're fed. Maybe you should also go where you're needed. Your community needs you. Well, let me just say with that, Hayton, I have tried a number of times to do that. And you know what? Dr. Vibe's getting tired.
Exactly.
Right? But
exactly.
I'll still do it periodically. And again, the greatest example is when I reach out to over 20 of the Black entrepreneurship partners, told them who I was. say congratulations, getting the money. Come onto the show. How many returned my message? None of them. All right.
Hey, brother.
Unmute
Hey, Roger.
yourself, Roger Dundas. Unmute yourself.
You guys are talking about black media. You're talking about impact. You're talking about people not supporting black media and all of that, right? So you want my Black's perspective on it? I mean, we're in a different space, I guess. So I would never say that the black community doesn't support black media. We get pitched everything. Everything, Carnival, right down to Walnut Foundation, whatever is going on, we're getting the pitch emails. We don't have the resources to cover everything. So we have to cherry pick what we think is going to be of interest to the reader. Right? So there was a time when we were doing a lot of profiles, and we made the switch last year. I think we were doing business profiles, this and that. And the truth is, if we did a profile just going to talk to Ryan about ACBN and how he started it, nobody's interested. What they would be interested in more is if Ryan's son experienced racism at his school and how he dealt with it. So you got to go with what is BuyBlacks. BuyBlacks is, in my opinion, an advocacy online magazine. We're advocating for people who don't have a voice sometimes, or people that, I would say don't have a voice. And then, of course, showcasing Black excellence, not Drake Black excellence, but CEE Black excellence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you
Hold
just
on. So
everyday excellence. Yes.
that's one thing with the stories, but what about people advertising on the platform? Because that's where I feel the disconnect is.
Thank you.
What
Great.
do you feel like? How
Great question.
priority the black community puts on actually spending dollars on the platform?
So, what I see is that a lot of businesses don't have the budget. And this is something that we really need to come to terms with, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a restaurant. So, obviously I have a little bit more knowledge about the restaurant business now that I've done this restaurant week 7 times. I've been across the country, and I've met, and I let me tell you guys, I sit down with restaurant owners and listen to their stories off camera. Nothing, we're not reporting anything or anything. Mm-hmm. So I've heard the bottom line is they're short staffed. They're under-resourced.
Right.
So if you have that person, they're serving food, right? The same person that's serving the food is cooking the food, is running the cash register most times, right? Is going to do the shopping in the morning and doing the social media posts. Because one, 2, 3 people, right? Most. I mean, Laz had like a staff of 6. They had 6 staff there, plus Jerry and Laz are also serving. How many restaurants do you go to? Do you go and you see the owners coming out and serving as well? So it's just it's not fair sometimes to make these statements about them not wanting to market. I think they want to do it, but to your point, Ryan, they really should hire somebody and get the help to come in, right?
They don't need to hire. They could just work with people like Dr. Tachi.
They have to hire.
This is yes. I mean, they're going to pay, obviously, but they can reach out to like, and that's what the conversation I had or tried to present at ACBN Symposium to these businesses. Think of content creators like Dr. Vibe, like myself, who has a roster that I can reach out to, Dr. Tachi, even like you as a content, you create content with BuyBlacks. Think of us as an extension of your advertising team or your marketing team. If you can't hire a full-time or even a part-time marketer, then we can work on campaigns. These campaigns can be for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, in order to at least 4 weeks. You know what I mean? But like have a good four solid campaign that you can work with any of us in order to help bring your message or special or anything that you're trying to push yourself or your business. If you can't hire someone full-time or part-time, think of us as content creators to be your extension of 100%. Your business.
So here's I'm gonna create some controversy right now, right?
That's you don't do that, Roger. You don't do that.
Really?
I'm gonna get controversial with all the content creators out there and all the influencers and everything. So you see this little guy named Keith Lee?
Yes.
I knew you were
Okay.
I was just thinking about this. Okay.
You know I'm going to talk about Keith Lee, right? So Keith Lee came here, spent his own money, flew himself here, booked the hotel himself for him and his family, selected a few restaurants to go to. None of them paid him $1, right?
Oh, be
And-
specific. How did he select? Be
I haven't.
specific. How
So-
did he select these restaurants?
You know what? He looked online. He looked at some of the influencers here. Yes.
Yes.
He did look at what some of the people were saying. Absolutely. There were a couple that he didn't, though. Right? So at the end of the day, the point I'm trying to make is this. Notwithstanding, he went there free of cost to the restaurant. So I think there's two models that are working, right, Shirley? There's two. I'm going to address you directly. There's two models, right? There's the Keith Lee model. There's another guy up here that does it. I think he's called Wayne. He has like 60,000 followers on Instagram. So Keith Lee goes to Old Nassau, right? He really likes it, and then they get bulldozed with customers, right? Ex influencer here that has 200,000 followers goes to a restaurant. They don't get bulldozed, but they have to pay him. So the point I'm trying to make is I prefer the Keith Lee model. I think that you really need to build up your network and rely on the platforms to pay you than the businesses to pay you, because the businesses most times don't have that budget. Like I know some influencers are asking for $5,000. I've had influencers ask me for $2,500 to visit one restaurant. And I don't believe, hold on, Shirley, I don't believe that $2,500 would have generated a Keith Lee effect. Not even 1,000th of a Keith Lee effect.
Well,
So
as a content creator, the only reason why Keith Lee can do this model is because he's American. And the unfortunate thing is when you're a content creator in Canada, these platforms, most of the times these creator programs or creator marketing program is not extended to Canada, or you have to have just ridiculous amount of followers in order to be even eligible for these programs. TikTok, let's use this example because that's his platform, right? We still, 2024 in Canada, don't have the creators program that he's able to be paid from in the US. We're in Canada. Why don't we have this program that Keith Lee is able to, okay, TikTok is going to pay me so I can pay it out of my pocket, go to these businesses and create this form of model that he has. We'd love to do the Keith Lee. And I'm speaking for people like Keith Lee had to go and look at who are these girls? Mix in the Six, I believe their name is. Mix in the Six. He utilized a lot of their suggestions in order to go to these businesses. But unfortunately, the only way that these gals can get paid on TikTok is if they have a brand deal. If they do approach a business like yours or any restaurants to say, hey, pay me $2,000 so I can come and create, basically suggest or give a feedback or review about your business. And that's the only way that a content creator can survive.
But Shirley, so the thing is,
so businesses, let's just point out that companies like yours or businesses should actually go to TikTok, go to Instagram, go to Meta and say, hey, you need to push more of this program that's afforded to the US that's not afforded to these content creators in Canada. So that way they can create more of that Keith Lee effect.
Well, first of all, we're blocked on Meta, as you know. So, we're not going. We're tired of going to Meta now to get unblocked.
Even just you saying that, it just goes to show you that how these programs have a problem. I don't know what's the laws that's creating these kind of problems. Meta shouldn't block you, but that's the issue.
Block. No. I mean,
not just you. I know.
They block all. I see why Meta did that, but that's for another show. That's for no. I don't think it's vindictive. They don't want to pay the money. I mean, it's not. That's
the definition of vindictive.
No, basically, no. Hold on. Understand something. They have not shut down because they're not showing the media information. So therefore, they're like it's moot. They're like saying their revenue doesn't come from media is not spending that amount of money for them to shut
what I'm
them
saying.
down.
You're defining vindictive. They don't care because the government is creating a bill that's going to cause them to pay. So
Google
because
has Google has
they're
agreed
even
to pay
in
it
the
out.
process of that bill, they've said,
Yeah.
"Well, we're blocking your Canadian content." Then
So
Like,
so coming
that's
back to
cold-blooded.
this one. So let me
Yeah.
come back to Shirley on this whole
Mhm.
thing. So if business has a budget and you have a content creator that is and this is controversial. I mean, I know the content creator is on TikTok or wherever, right? Wouldn't it just make sense for the business to just advertise on TikTok? Because if you advertise on TikTok and spend $2,500, that's going to give you about 2.5 million impressions, roughly. So, and then you have to compare it with how much impressions, because that's what it comes down to. The agencies are calling us. They're like, "What's the impression?"
But how long did they have to do it? You know that.
Yeah.
They have to do it in a long term. They have to invest in a long term way if they're going to put their money on TikTok in comparison to someone like me or let's say Ryan Hickson from Eat Famous, who've built the trust, who've put in the work as a content creator, and really that's like. It's a lot more organic to work with a content creator because they've built the trust, and it's a lot more advertising when you're just going to go straight to the program or the platform, and then you have to do it in a much longer term.
So
We're literally practically your megaphone in comparison to now you're just kind of throwing your money in the wind, and hopefully you know how to excuse my language. I'm gonna get passionate. Hopefully you know how to use these platforms to advertise, because that's like you have to go through the process of learning how to advertise properly, to do some A&B testing, to see what works, to see that what doesn't work. Guess what? A content creator like Ryan Hickson at Eat Famous have already done the work for you, right? So when he says something, it goes. It's like this in comparison to just putting it on straight to the platform.
Bring him on and ask him to share the conversation that I had with him, and he'll tell you himself, right? And here was, I think the snippet of it is that what Dr. Vibe said: Canadians don't rate Canadian content creators, which you said earlier, right? It's like, when I say content creators, not just influencers and content and podcasters and everything. It's even artists. So Drake, Justin Bieber, everybody weekend they have to go to the States. Make that cheddar, and then come back, and then you're famous. But they wouldn't have become mega famous from Canada.
Well,
Jim Carrey.
I'm gonna, and I'll tell you from personal experience, family. When I first started this, I had to beg anyone who looked like us from this country to come on this platform.
That's crazy. So that's crazy,
right? And it's still easier for me to get someone on from outside of this country who looked like us on this platform than myself. And that's a Canadian thing. I don't think it's just a Black Canadian thing. It's a Canadian thing.
It is a
right?
Canadian thing.
So Ryan Knight, I thought you had to leave at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I apologize. My phone's still. But again, I'm gonna be listening as I'm in this next meeting.
I think maybe quarterly or monthly we should have a creators corner conversation.
I think so. I don't.
Go ahead, Roger.
I don't want to diminish the role of the content creator, because I believe the content creators are necessary for storytelling. Right, they're 100% necessary for storytelling. But I start to think about, like, when I see things online now, and you see a product like a High Smile. Remember the purple thing that you put on your teeth and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So initially you saw that, everybody saw the ads. They're on TikTok, right? And then you started seeing all these content creators. And then after a while, you're like, okay, all right, hold on a second. The company is paying this person to say that it works. I mean, come on. Versus Keith Lee going to somewhere and saying, hey, you know what? They don't know that I bought this food, and I'm rating it at 8.3. So who is more believable? This is my question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, though, the thing with I agree. When we look at it from a numbers and an exposure perspective, yes, definitely. And I love Keith Lee's way of doing it. The reality is, there are so many content creators who can't are not able to do it that way or don't have the fortitude to do it the way that he's doing it. So, and then when we talk about, and it's not just Canada, and I think for people in the US, I think we look at the land mass of Canada and think it's a big country. No, most of the people live along the US border. It's a much smaller concentration of people that live in Canada, even though the land mass is like double what we are. So it's much smaller. And still, even with that, when we look at content creators and the initiatives and things that we have access to in the States, that's not everybody. So then when you look at content creators of color, it becomes even smaller. When you look at specifically Black, it becomes even smaller. And this is why I say that we cannot rely on the platforms for sustenance, because they never intend, you will never make more than they will. They are not there to pay you. They have to pay you as an afterthought because I'm using your content. And even then. So really, I think it's content creators need to look at other ways, as Mario Armstrong teaches, brand partnerships and sponsorships outside of the platform, because the platforms are not going to pay you. Like he says, sneaker money, if that's what you want, coffee money, if you're okay with that. But if you're looking at really having a sustainable income, it's going to have to come from multiple streams. And so even though you all are saying that that's definitely a problem in Canada, I think it's a problem here too, because all we have to do is, for example, look at the fashion space and fashion influencers. Black fashion influencers do not have the same access to Dior and Valentino and the high-end brands, Louis Vuitton. How many Black influencers do you see them working with, and the brand trips that they get taken on? There are not a whole lot of Black creators when it comes to that. So to that, I also say, I think we deserve to be in those spaces, but why are we begging to be in those spaces? This is my thing. I think that there are enough of us, and I know it's a mindset shift. I know this is completely mindset, but we all talk about this all the time in every single field. Why are we not combining? Because our power is immeasurable when we're doing it together. But we're complaining. We're uniting for the wrong cause. We're trying to make sure that we're sitting in the front row at the Dior show or the Tory Burch show, instead of saying, now, how are we supporting Black designers? How can we amplify? So we're sometimes uniting for the wrong causes. So let's bring that forward to this conversation today with Black media and even Black businesses. Let's just say Black businesses in general. I think we're all saying the same thing. We basically all are saying the same thing. There just needs to be more support on all ends, because our support at this point has been more for mainstream or non-melanated businesses than it has been for our own. So that doesn't mean don't use mainstream media to get your message out. Yes, it exists. But think about the fact that when you are paying for mainstream media, that is money that does not go into our community. And that's the same thing that you all have been arguing. So let's think about that as well.
Well, hold up a second. So, of course, when we're doing Restaurant Week, we pitch to all media. So we work with the Black media, for sure. We work with Black content creators, for sure. But we also pitch. We don't advertise with any mainstream. We don't advertise on Bell, City TV, Global, or Toronto Star, Sun, Post, or whatever. We do not advertise with them. What we do is we pitch the stories to them. And I'm telling you, somebody said earlier about community reach. That is bullcrap. One article in the Toronto Star would do more than almost the combined effect of most Black-owned media. The combined effect. I'm telling you, the last edition, when was it, Dr. Vibe? I think the fall 2023, Toronto Star did an article. They called me and they said, hey, we want to feature 3 Toronto-based restaurants. And, I gave them some names. They interviewed everybody. They went up to a little restaurant on Shepherd called Stacy's Island Flavor,
which is closed on Sundays.
There's nothing, it's a regular takeout Jamaican restaurant, right? Food is good. The food tastes like good Jamaican home cooking. They used that. They went into her kitchen, took a picture of her cooking in her kitchen, used that as the feature image, came on the front page of the food section. Yeah. She, up to this day, right? She has written me after and told me, she said, Roger, I couldn't even believe. I went there myself Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, phone was ringing, people were coming in, non-melanated people. I asked the people, how did you hear about this thing? I saw the article in the Toronto Star.
Yeah.
So we
But
don't have, I'm telling you, Buy Blacks doesn't have that impact. I'm
No,
going to be honest and say that.
No,
Right?
absolutely. I think I'm sorry, Shirley. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think you're right. I'm not disagreeing. But the reason that continues to happen is because we continue to place undue importance on those mainstream outlets. Number one.
No, I
Well,
disagree.
no. Partially it is, because if you feel that this is more important, then that's one thing. And I'm not saying don't use them at all. It should be in tandem, definitely. But then
Okay.
how many of the Black restaurants actually have that same opportunity to get put on the front page? That's one out of how many?
They've
I
done
think-
several. Over the years, they've done several. But what the point I'm making, and which I want, it comes back to what you're saying, right? It's a numbers game. The Toronto Star has more followers than us. That's just facts. They've been around longer. They have a deep, and they're trusted. They're a trusted media outlet.
Yes.
So you can't just build up trust. We're 11, 12 years old next year, right? We don't have that same trust level, right, that the Toronto Star would have. That's just facts. And if you're a content creator, you've been around for 3-5 years, you don't either. Let's just get over it. I mean,
Well,
I don't think it's trust. I think it's reach.
Do you think it has to do with the generational? Because you're mentioning to Toronto Star. Let's be real with even us having this conversation. I could say we're like Gen X generation, pretty much, that's having this conversation. And so when I have a conversation with, or I see the content creators who are millennials or late Gen Z, that's a different conversation because they don't necessarily need the Toronto Star. I've met content creators like Tunji, for example, who was in Vancouver and now he's in Toronto, and he has a huge following, and the guy can sell out a theater. He had a comedy show in Vancouver and he sold it out. He didn't need the Toronto Star for that. He didn't need
Well, he's in Vancouver.
you know what I mean? So I think that's a generational conversation as well, because the younger generation are really truly utilizing these platforms and really utilizing all forms of what you can think of as form of content creation, and are selling out in theaters, are being flown and invited to hotels, are being they're able to not have to utilize traditional media. And now that traditional media, I was at the Canadian Association of Journalism, and I mean, these businesses that are our generation is gonna have to start thinking about content creators eventually, because traditional media is not doing so well. Radio right now, I mean, is not doing well.
Okay,
right?
okay. You know, every time you say that, I'm gonna hit you back with real. This is what we just did. This.
I hear you, but I'm saying is everything you're saying I could see makes sense for our generation, but when the younger generation, they are killing it without traditional media.
Roger, where can people touch base with you?
At Buy Blacks on most social media platforms.
Okay.
Of course, you know that Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, we're currently blocked. Only in Canada, by the way. I should make that note. So if you're operating a VPN to maintain your security when you're browsing, and you selected IP address outside of Canada, you can see all the content.
There you
FYI. So Dr. Tachi can see the content very well.
Yep. Shirley, where can people touch base with you?
You could touch base with me at the Chonilla Network, so CHONILLA network.com, or you could find me on all social media platforms at Black Canadian Creators. I'm there mostly. So Black Canadian Creators on all social platforms, or if it's Twitter, it's just Black Canadian CC. Check out my newsletter that's in Black Pod News. It's called Northern Voices, where I spotlight podcasts. I create a podcast list that you need to listen of Black Canadian podcasts or Black Canadian hosted or co-hosted podcasters in Canada who are melanated that you should learn and hear and check them out and spotlight.
You like how I dropped the page drop today?
Yes.
All right.
Love
there
it.
you
Love
go.
it.
And Dr. Tachi? All roads lead to where?
You can contact me directly on Instagram at Dr._Tachi. But of course, if you're looking for great content, check us out at Indie Soup Media. So we are a streaming network, and you can find us, there we go, on indiesoupmedia.tv. You can also watch the programs on YouTube, Twitch, also on Facebook Live, or you can download the Roku app if you have a Roku device and watch our things Monday through Friday.
All right, family. And don't worry, Hayden, I will still keep on reaching out to people. I will, but not frequency will be a little bit lower because I got other people reaching out to me. So that's what's going to happen. So I haven't totally given up. I've just, I manage my time and my energy accordingly. So it sounds like the Dr. Vibe Morning Vibe Show family wants to have this conversation on a regular basis. So I am going to make it happen. So before we get out of here, a few quick things. Wow. We ran way past today, but subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business product or service on this platform, any that I'm part of, Dr.Vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Join the Morning Vibe Show group, Discord group, Dr.Vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Check out replays all over the place, including Indie Soup Media, and also on the scrolling at the bottom. Program alert this Friday. If you think this is the appetizer, this Friday, Wayne Harris and Ray McMillan talking about retirement, black belt conversations. To get a hold of Ryan, RyanO'NeillKnight.com, Ryan O'Neill Knight, LinkedIn, Instagram at Ryan.Knight99, email work with me at RyanO'NeillKnight.com. And finally, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram, the Dr. Vibe Show, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, and email dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And subscribe, please subscribe to the channel, especially on YouTube. Tell other people about it so we can grow, be part of growing Black-owned media and Black-focused media. It's one thing to be owned, but it's Black-focused. All right, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourselves grace. And we will see you on Friday with Ray McMillan, Wayne Harris. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good.